Oh yeah?
I just realized I did not turn the mic on.
That's good. That was a good practice though.
Hi, I'm Dimple. I'm the interviewer.
Hi, I'm Lizzie, the writer and co-director.
And I'm Olivia, the other co-director. Today we are going to be talking about
The Last Supper!
Yay! Tell us what The Last Supper is actually about.
So the country has voted to destroy itself in a referendum via nuclear bomb. So one family is facing imminent death and they're having a final dinner together in order to sort of celebrate their final few hours. However, lots of underlying resentments come out and we see a lot of chaos ensue.
What was the inspiration behind this story? What inspired you to create a play that's set against the backdrop of the world's end? And why did you choose the family's Last Supper as the focal point?
So I've had this idea of a family dinner kind of mulling around in my head for a few years, ever since I read Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams when I was 16. And I was just so impressed about how you can make such a beautiful story with words. So I really wanted to do something with that. But I couldn't figure out like what a catalyst could be. And then a few years later, I watched Don't Look Up, which is a movie about the end of the world. And I thought that'd be really interesting to combine those two concepts and see how would we react at the end of the world.
I think it's a good idea too.
Thank you.
You have worked on the play, so you have to say that. I haven't, but I still do think it's a good idea. Do you think that the emotions of the characters in the situation is bigger than what's happening with the end of the world?
It's a very kind of personal story. So yes, we have these issues running in the background, but at the end of the day, when it's the end of the world, no one is kind of caring about the global issues anymore. You're caring about what happens to yourself. So we see the most selfish parts of these characters start to come out.
Grown into fat, miserable, cynical corporate slaves who hate their lives just as much as I do, suffocating slowly as they swing from the noose of heartless corporations and corrupt governments.
And I think that is supposed to kind of reflect about how we kind of go about our day-to-day lives. Like yes, we're concerned about things like global warming, about like the politics, but at the same time, we're mostly focused on ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's kind of putting that, except times 10.
That need for decorum kind of falls away when you know everyone's gonna die
Yes.
in a few hours.
Absolutely.
Since your play, The Last Supper, talks about a lot of profound things like life, death, and moral choices, what do you hope the audience takes away regarding human nature and our capacity for decision making in dire situations?
So great question. The play in itself shows a lot of really horrible things. It's very violent, and we've made a lot of jokes about that. People were asking, is there a fight scene? And we were like, a singular fight scene? No. But at the end of the day, despite all these really horrible things, I want it to kind of be this question of hope and whether we can still keep hoping in the world that we are in right now. Everything seems so terrible. Everything feels like it's just going to absolute terrible stuff. But I want them to be able to take away that we don't want our future to go down this path. So what can we do to change it?
Yeah, I think thematically there's like a big emphasis on redemption. Like, you know, how far is too far? At what point can we not be redeemed? Is the world redeemable as it is? Are we redeemable as we are? At the end of the show, I think those questions will be in the minds of the audience, or I hope so.
Yes.
Or you would be thinking, who's going to pay for what on the last day in your
Yeah,
family?
it's so true, yeah.
The decision to end the world via referendum is a powerful plot point and also unique. I have read so many books up with like concept of ending world, but never with this particular end of world.
Yeah, it's actually very good.
Yeah. Discuss the significance of this choice and what it represents about the society. I was going to say university, but obviously that too.
Well, both too, yeah.
And the democracy.
Yeah. For me, the big thing was probably it reflects a lot of how we feel nowadays. I know I'm constantly really concerned about climate change. I know climate anxiety is this new mental health issue which is coming up because we're so concerned. And of course we just come off the back of our own referendum, and I just couldn't help but think, what if we just gave up? What if everyone just wanted to give up anymore? Because at this point it feels so messed up, I just don't even know what we can do. So it was this idea of what if we all just were bound together by our hopelessness.
And also a referendum sort of you know, it gives choice to the people as
Yes.
opposed to it being like a government decision. Like
Yeah.
the people chose this. How does that affect the people in the play?
And also we get to see this interesting tension about different political beliefs and why people might make that choice even though it seems so insane.
Yeah.
Because you know how a family dinner gets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Conflicting
Yes.
Can you imagine like a mom trying to make you behave and you're like, the world
is about to end.
Yeah.
Sorry, just pass over the wine.
Yeah.
Let me drink it before
Let
I
me drink,
die.
yeah.
The play mirrors real world issues as we have touched on, like environmental degradation and economic instability. How do you balance the portrayal of these themes without overshadowing the personal story at the heart of the play?
The play itself is quite character focused rather than plot focused. And we spend a lot of time looking at the interpersonal relationships between each of the two characters,
Yeah.
out of all the 5. So I think that in itself, showing slowly uncovering the motivations behind each of the characters, about why they act the way that they act, I think really gives it that personal focus. And also the fact that the set is a dinner table. We don't move outside of the domestic sphere for the entire play, so that in itself forces it to be a deeply sort of personal narrative.
Yeah, like the real life issues that it's referring to are, like we said, a catalyst for how the characters sort of, what propels them throughout the play. And so it's a backdrop, if anything, to see the personal effects that it has on everyone.
Yes, Olivia calls it a pressure cooker,
Oh,
is very much a
which is
pressure
a really
cooker.
great way to describe it.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It is. Meals are such a big family event. It feels like most of the people would like to do that as the last thing they do. Sit down with everyone you
Yes.
love, eat the food you eat. I was going to say love,
And
and
then
I was like, eat
yeah.
the people you love.
Yeah, it's even more complicated when the dynamics between the characters are so either estranged or close or whatever it is, because then there's like all these things to jump off of.
It's also the idea of when you're at a family dinner and one of your kind of distant relatives says something really controversial or really iffy, and your kind of reaction is like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to respond to that. That is the sort of dynamic of the play. You just don't know how to respond to people because they're just saying outlandish things.
And I also feel like on a normal day, you would have been like, okay, like they always
Yes.
yap, I'm gonna leave. But on this day, you're like, this is my last chance. And what's the worst that could happen?
Exactly.
That's that pressure cooker
Yes,
taking over.
Okay. So let's talk about the role of theatre in society.
Mm.
Last Supper tackles themes of societal and personal challenges. In your view, both of you,
Wow.
what role does theatre play in reflecting on and challenging societal issues?
So the role of theatre in society, I think it's a very difficult question to answer, and it's definitely one that I've struggled with as an arts student. I've watched my whole family of doctors, they're all out saving lives all day, and then I come home and I'm writing some kind of essay about Freudian daddy issues in a poem. So it makes you question a lot, what is the actual purpose of doing this? But I think there is. I think it's a way of expressing these emotions that can't otherwise be expressed. I think that it's also really interesting when you have that audience interaction, which is what our play kind of plays around with. Olivia, would you like to continue?
All I have to say is that, art is really important. Art communicates so many things that everything else can't. And I think it provides a really interesting way for audiences to think about these questions. It instills it in a very interesting way. In a way that I think they can take away after the show's done.
This is not a mic.
I know, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. As someone who did STEM and is doing art, I do also struggle with this. I do understand how it comes into play, how important art is. When it comes to end of the world, is art what we need, or is it something STEM related that can actually save the world? But like I mentioned before, and it did not record, when the Titanic was going down, you weren't looking for engineers to save you because at that point you were far gone. You needed music to calm you. It's easy to survive with science, but it's not easy to live without art, I guess. And I think it just is a great conversation starter when it comes to themes that are really hard to digest.
I think my kind of philosophy for it, thank you, has been that like science and STEM obviously it's crucial, and I started off in science, but I feel like that explains the world, whereas art gives meaning to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my kind of.
Art is so communal.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. it also, it's very meaning making.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you look at that?
Oh my goodness, who put this
The
here?
last stop at 18th to 20th of April at the Guild Theatre. Tickets out
What
now.
is that? That sounds like a very professional pen name.
Oh my god. No, they're seeing some kind of violent thing, obviously.
No,
very on
never.
brand.
Okay, so come watch the show.
Absolutely, come see it.
And you know what? Here's a little something I prepared earlier.
Wow, what a coincidence that that's right here.
What is that?
So beautiful.
Wow, that looks
Watch
like a
it.
fantastic cast.
Yeah.
I know.
Guild Theatre, 18th to 20th of April. Tickets out now.
Yes, go see it.
Performances. We'll be there.
We will be.
We'll give you a little kiss each one of the
Well,
entrances.
perhaps.
Perhaps.
From afar though. No promises.
We'll give you a wink.
End of world.
I've also had this. I don't know if this needs to be in the video, but it's funny. I promised people that Jason Derulo may or may not be giving meet and greets there. So if you're a Jason Derulo fan, because he may or may not be there. Like he may or may not. He might be.
Yeah, or he might not be.
He might not be.
But he probably
You-
will be. Probably.
You will have to find out, won't you? Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, you're
Give
such a
Jim a
natural
like,
YouTuber.
Yeah, what can I say?
We were just made for this.
Whenever I have people in my videos, they're always like, comment and subscribe, and I never say it. So it's amazing.
Smash that like button, smash that share button, and smash that subscribe button. Wait, no, wait.